ran until
When it's finished. Yep. Unfinished business.
wait a minute, but we couldn't leave her alone.
All right, well,
He just wants to get us in the record that he did some preliminary work.
of course, we'll approve minutes. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Call meeting order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Better late than never. Right on time. Right on time.
Palmer, Robertson, Witt, Wolfson, Malone,
Here.
Mauer.
Here. All right, we have 5 members present. I would like to make a motion to excuse.
I'll make a motion to excuse Paul Novak because I know he's at a wedding out of the country. And Bob Palmer if he doesn't show up.
Okay.
There's still time.
All right, second. All right, we got a motion to excuse commissioners, okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? All right, motion carries. We excuse our commissioners unless one of them runs into the last second. Okay. Any requests for agenda changes? No. Okay, moving on. Approval of the minutes from the May 23rd, 2017 special meeting.
I will go through
Any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
that.
Aye. Opposed? None? Approved, minutes carried. Any additional communications?
Not this month.
No. Right, audience participation, anyone like to speak?
Dennis Burks, 206 Spring Park, Wall Lake, Michigan. I request a full quorum be here before any voting or approval of anything is done. You don't have a full quorum, so you can start your meeting, but there'll be no voting. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, Ken Polk, 179 Spring Park, May 21st, we had a couple inches of rain, the Spring Park totally flooded out. Can we have someone come out there and investigate the reason why Spring Park floods out every time it rains? Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay, attorney's report?
No,
Okay, that's
that's
not
not.
here, actually, okay.
And
Unfinished business discussion regarding the community ed center. Mr. Dean?
Yeah, so the city has passed a resolution to investigate possibility of purchasing the property or having a right of first refusal on the purchase of the property, enter into a public-private partnership with the developer to do something with the property. So we were asked to look at, what does the zoning allow, what does the master plan suggest for that site? And so when we look at the zoning ordinance, it's very clear that the type of uses that are allowed there are community related, right? It's zone CS, community service. And so if you're looking at developing the parcel, there's not very much economic viability for that parcel under its current zoning. So when you have a parcel that you're looking to change the zoning, the first document that you look at is the master plan, because that's sort of your guide to future development of the city. And that corresponds pretty much perfectly with the zoning ordinance. The way how the master plan is put together is part of public input. You talk to the stakeholders, the school, city council, planning commission, and residents to figure out why uses are appropriate where. Well, during all the discussions that you have during these public hearings, it was never discussed that this building be used for something other than community education. So it's been identified that way in the master plan. So if you were to attempt a rezoning, you really don't have the support of that document to do so. So we further looked at what similar uses or similar reuses of this type of building have gone on around Michigan. You'll find in the report that there's some news articles. There have been some public-private partnerships where they've turned them into loft apartments or senior living apartments. There's also been some where they've turned it into what can be described as a business incubator. So you have small office spaces on the first floor and then additional lofts on the second floor. But to get to that situation where you can figure out something besides community service, you know, looking at what your next steps are. There's really two steps you need to take. You know, the first, and this would apply for whoever wants to do something with the property, you need to amend the master plan. And you can either do that through a sub-area plan where you look at, you know, the surrounding uses for that parcel, or you can look at the city as a whole. You know, obviously, you're in the middle of your 5-year review period, so from a legal standpoint, you're not required to do a full review, but it may be appropriate to do so just to get it out of the way. The other recommendation is to do a feasibility study of the condition of the building. Before you make any informed decisions, it would be helpful to know what the condition of the building is and what the realistic operating costs are, and what the viability of the building itself is. So at this point, you know, without getting into a full review, market study to figure out what potential uses, the report you have in front of you identifies what the current uses are, some potential uses for similar buildings, and then if you look at the surrounding areas, you know, what fits in. And really, you know, the downtown area with this mixed use, you know, would appear to be a good fit for that parcel. But to be able to do that rezoning, you need to take the steps of amending the master plan, whether it's through a sub-area plan or a full review.
So regardless of what happens to the building, or rehab, or reuse, or if it's demolished and something else happens, it's still going to have to go through that process.
Unless it's going to be used for a community service of some sort.
Yeah, which
right?
I saw.
Which, you know,
I saw that it allows
you know,
public parks,
yeah.
county or state office buildings, that sort of stuff, so probably not zoological gardens.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to receive and file his preliminary report, and so the record shows that he submitted it to us as a planning commission.
Okay, so we have,
Little documents.
okay, so we need a motion to.
I make the motion.
I'll support that.
Okay, so the motion is to,
Receive it and file it, and we can continue talking about it, but I want to get in the record.
You want to
that
get-
he submitted tonight. We're going to be talking about this little packet a whole lot more before.
okay,
Before this is done.
okay,
So
the motion been made to
I receive
receive
the
and
report. That's all for now.
supported by Mr. Wilson? Okay. All right, is there any discussion?
I want to talk about it again. What I want to do is get it accepted. My intent is to be able to tell the school board administration that this instrument has been given to the DDA. It was given today at 4 o'clock to the DDA. They moved, receive, and file into the planning commission so that they have this basic information. I think it's actually a very short and sweet document. It goes right to the point of it. He actually gave a really, really good synopsis of what needs to be done. Who does that is another question. I don't know that I'm going to rely on the school board's review of the building and what they can do with it, because they concluded that they're going to tear it down. So that has to start from scratch. I'm not sure we start with anything. So but what I want to do is be able to tell the school board when we start talking about negotiations with them, which could be as early as Monday. Next Monday, they want to meet. They canceled one meeting. They called the meeting with us, and then they canceled the meeting. If that meeting goes, I want to be able to submit this document and then go from there to the council. And then the council will receive the same instrument. And anything more is related at the meetings with the school board, I'll be reporting that to the city council. But we're prepared to move forward to protect the building. That's the intent. The majority that I've talked to supports protecting the building or trying to keep the building. So that doesn't come true until there's actual vote, but my discussion with the majority, they want to try to protect the building and repurpose the school board.
Okay. And to that point, you said next Monday is when the school board calls the meeting?
Well, that's when we got a meeting scheduled. We've had one, they called it, we agreed, and then they canceled it. But this one was scheduled for Monday. If that goes on, I want to take these documents, tell them what I believe the position of the city council is, and see what that goes. I'll report on that in full at the next council meeting. I expect that there's some discussion, maybe some citizens show up and have some discussion about saving the community ed center.
Okay. All right, motion been made to accept this report in the record and supported by Wilson. Any other discussion? All right. All's in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Okay, we officially adopted this into the record. Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Dean about this? No?
That's the most significant thing, as I told the DDA, the most significant thing that the planning commission has before it right now. Essentially, it's a revisiting of the zoning ordinance, a revisiting of the master plan,
Yeah.
and serious business with having to do with what the planning commission does. And that same remark applies to the DDA. It's a serious DDA issue that they need to look at. So, it's 6.5 acres, and we gotta have a say, and you need to take a look at it and give the public input and see what we can do.
So Mr. Wood, you said that this was the DDA had this document this afternoon, you said? So
Yeah, we had a meeting at 4,
Okay.
and basically the same
Same type of
discussion.
stuff? Okay.
And again, I've not heard anybody that stands up and says tear the building down. So everybody that I
You can
know.
always tear the building down, let's see what else is built.
Well, there's some other folks that, you know, I'm not sure they want to tear the building down. I think what they want is to get rid of it. You know, they want to not have the expense. They claim there's a $250,000 annual expense to it. I understand the math. I know what they're doing. They're going to use one fund to demolish it, and then they're going to save $250,000 a year out of their operating fund. Well, that makes sense mathematically, but it doesn't speak to the wishes of the citizens of Wall Lake. And in fact, they're an entire district, so the city of Wall Lake can have a say in some of the DDA, and so does this planning commission.
Okay. All right.
Was there, out of curiosity, did they indicate that, let's say if they did tear it down, that they would put something else there? Or use that land for something else?
They've not indicated anything. What they indicate, I mean, in terms of what they might do, other than we're gonna tear it down. That's the term demolition is always what comes up, demolition. And their approach to that is we're gonna give everybody time to get used to the demolition. We're gonna have a going away party for the building. We're gonna let you take a stone from the corner of it, but it's all about demolition, and there's just a whole lot of angry folks about that, so.
The land and the building is owned by the school board?
Yes, 6.45 acres, and that's a pretty good piece of property. It's all zoned for the school. It was never, you know, the DDA's plan doesn't have anything in it, and that'll be in his report. And of course, our master plan didn't contemplate the school going away, so.
So they don't make enough with the community education that they do now?
I'm not sure.
Get classes like that?
They don't wanna pay the $250,000 a year upkeep, no matter what's in there.
There's a lot of speculations, all the reasons they want to demolish the building. It mathematically, it's the easiest way to start all over. So, but the administration over there, I mean, his role is not that much different than mine. I know Ken Gutman, he's a young guy, and he's doing the math, but he needs to consider our position. They did not do that. I can tell you, they did not consider the city's position. They didn't consider everybody who would rise up and be offended by the way it went. They just said, we're gonna give you a chance to say goodbye to the school. And a lot of folks are angry about it. It makes sense mathematically, but for them. But if you can do the same thing, if you can get it off their roll, if you can get rid of the $250,000 by repurposing it, selling it to, and developing it in a public-private partnership. But here's the hypothetical. If you demolish the building and you have a piece of property that's not properly zoned, it's going to sit for years undeveloped, which means there's no tax revenue coming in to the school board or the city. So there's a failing in that administrative discussion over there. And they should have had that discussion as part of the demolition discussion. What if we repurpose it? What if we rebuild it? But nobody came over and said what the zoning's going to be afterwards. They decided to demo it before they did anything else. They just want to get it off their books, that $250,000. And maybe other reasons. You know, you hear that stuff about what goes in there and what doesn't. I don't have to speculate there. I just know that we need to pursue repurposing the building. And if we can do that, it will help the school board. And if what we do helps the school board, I'm good with that. If we put property there to bring in a nice tax revenue, from a commercial district or a residential district. It's good for our revenue stream, and it's good for the school board's revenue. So we can make them happy if they'll just listen, if they haven't locked into the position that we're taking the building next. And so that's really what we've got to do. We're going to be logical with them, but the city council is adamant that they're going to intervene here. That's the way I see it.
Any other discussion? All right,
Mr. Chair, am I allowed to ask a question?
during audience participation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on, new business? Yes, sir.
You know, she's a city
I
councilwoman.
understand.
I would ask to make a motion that she be able to speak
Yeah, I'd
about
like to
that
have a
issue.
question myself, so, yeah.
I would
Thank you.
make a motion that the
I would
audience
sec- I would
participation be
second
able,
that.
because the person speaking is the city councilwoman.
Okay.
Well,
So.
that's the proper procedure to do
Yeah,
it.
it
If
is.
you're
That's it. So
outside
I'm making a
line.
motion. Do I get a second?
All's in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
None? Ms.
Thank
Elton?
you, thank you.
Hmm?
I just want to have a question about the meeting on Monday. Is that an open meeting? You said something about the possibility of citizens showing up? Would-
Public hearing?
I don't know how they're gonna handle it. I'm having their meeting, they're calling me, so they wanna meet with me. I doubt that it's open.
Okay.
It doesn't seem that's how they've done business in the past, so.
Okay,
If you show up and ask to go, I have no objection. The truth is, when you're negotiating, generally speaking, when you're negotiating the sale of property or transfer of property, that stuff usually goes into a closed session if it goes to the board. And that's all done in an executive session. I'm guessing that Ken Gutman might be advised by his counsel to do all your discussions in a non-private meeting, because it is about transferring and money, and so I can't speak to that. I'm gonna give Ken Gutman and his troops about the same discussion you've already heard twice today, and that is, give us a shot at it, because we can save it. It can be saved. I don't know the answer to that, other than I gave her a response. That's the best I can do.
No, that's good.
Good question. It's gonna cost a little money to tear that building down, clear the area.
$750.
So, and that's nothing to sneeze at. If that could somehow be worked into repurpose or something like that, maybe. I'm surprised they didn't think of that.
We all are kind of surprised that didn't hit the agenda first. Why weren't you talking about that? This is not a new concept. This has been going on all over the country. I know about it. The one that's the closest, and if you want to go look at a repurposing, the one in Plymouth, it's not a good model for us, but it's a good example of how it can be done. I've been there, staff and I've been there, we've looked at the building and all that. It's a different approach, and they're looking for residential units and stuff like that. We're looking at a different kind of area, and we may have a combination of all of that. But, I mean, we shouldn't lock in, I don't believe we should lock into what we want with that until we have full input. But repurposing it, yes, that can be done, and the planner did a great job of finding some articles, and the links are here, of places where that's been done. And I personally know other people, professionals in the field, that have worked on those kind of projects. I don't know the guy down in Plymouth. I've met him, and he did come in. He asked for a meeting, and I didn't really know what it was about, but we talked to him. I don't know if he's qualified to do a project that big. His family's in a residential building. We shouldn't have any objection to somebody taking a direct approach in the case of a public-private partnership. But if he can't do it, maybe he can partner with somebody that can do it, or maybe somebody, depending on how we go about this. And my view of it is it comes through the DDA. The DDA has to lead. And of course, the planning commission has to get the zoning right to maximize what we want to do with it. So everybody's in play in this project. This may be the single most important thing that happens in the next few years, and we're getting that right. If we mess it up, then we've been talking about that for years. But we do have an opportunity at every level to make it work. So I'm actually encouraged that we can get it done.
If you find out it's an open meeting Monday, please let us know.
We can do that. We can send it. I don't know. I wish I could answer that. And I'm not going to say much more than this. If they're willing to listen, that's what I want to find out. If they're not willing to listen, then that turn takes another turn. And we have Plan B there too, trust me. If they're not willing to listen. But I'll know Monday if they don't cancel the meeting. they may be happy that we want to try to take it off their hands. I hope so.
All right. Okay, moving on, new business, none. Administrative report, code enforcement for April and May. A lot of lawn mowing going on,
Busy summer.
which is standard summer fare.
Yeah, busy
So,
summer.
every summer.
It'll slow down.
Yeah. Anyone have any questions about the code enforcement report? Okay. All right, so, hearing no discussion on the administrative report, move on to any other discussion before we go to commissioner comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
let me give you an update on the code enforcement report.
Okay, please.
I think that's it. On Colmont, one of the folks down there applied for a DEQ permit to build a seawall. And they're involved in litigation with the people on Colmont. They're all suing each other, claiming access and non-access. And one party applied for a seawall permit through DEQ, was actually issued it. That kind of went south because it turns out that maybe that party wasn't the owner. DEQ is pretty annoyed. There may be some
It's
legal
been a
action.
mess for years down there.
We talked about it.
Well, I've run this by the lawyer with us all, the city attorney, who's also our attorney here, that this could turn into a lawsuit. We're not a party to the lawsuit, but they don't like each other a lot down there. And they got the code guy involved, they got, Jeff was down there for different reasons. But the DEQ permit was issued, and then they found that DEQ found out that the person who applied doesn't own the property, and there may be some misstatements of fact, and it's not looking pretty. DEQ folks are, I don't know, I guess the word is annoyed, and they're looking to perhaps, well, I think that may be why they're annoyed. They took the, when you apply, it's a crime to make an application, make statements of fact that aren't fact. And so, we may see the outcome of that to be more than embarrassing or more than annoying. But we're still not in it yet. We have to monitor it because everybody down there is our citizen. And of course, we have our park there. If you know, the end of Colmont is a park. It's a park, but it's also on the beach, and
Is it our park or is it Colmont's park?
well, it's ours. It's listed on, our map show it as a city park. We acquired it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but other people are claiming it belongs to them, that they have the only right to put in docks. So there's a big dispute going on. As a planning commissioner, you want to dodge that, stay away from it, because you can't win that argument. You're gonna make somebody, it's a legal issue, and
It'll be kinda hard for him though, living on the street.
I don't know that you ought to have a comment about that.
Yeah, probably wise in that kind of. Okay, thanks for the update on that. Okay. Let's go to commissioner comments. Mr. Witt?
Good.
Mark? Any comments? I'm gonna pass it on to Robertson.
Almost there.
Wilson?
Everybody have a good Fourth of July.
We'll get us after the next one, yeah. Seems like it's that time yet, but okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Support? Support. It's all yours. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? All right, we stand adjourned.
You know where the Baldwin Mill is up there? You're going down Conneaut Trail.
I got caught there with a car fire on 275.
It's that second road.
Two or three lanes closed, and I was just big gridlock.
The spray is right. As you
I'll
say,
get right, I
it's
forgot
the
to bring.
first road.
Okay, no, I'll get
Thought
right.
about calling it.
Then
all of a sudden, yeah, just cleared up, everything's going. Oh, nice. What's that?
It's the second.
Yeah, I saw
I know.
No, it's all good stuff.
Yeah, just like.
What's that? City record should say who actually owns that piece of property. So what's the big stink?
It's not like about 5 minutes later than. That's 5, so great.
It's right where Pontiac Trail does that bend. Right where it comes, yeah.
Car fire.
It's on the east side, but it's right when Pontiac Trail does that bend for West Park.
So anyway.
I mean, as far as those people fighting over who owns that beach area, it should be in the city records. They should be able to just tell them, yeah, well, you know, this belongs to the whole neighborhood, or it belongs to these two lots here, belong to these two. There shouldn't be any stink about who owns what down there.
Well,
I know a little bit.
I think there is. I think the person
I said
who
that's
owns
plan B.
the
He's got plan B.
yeah. And he just told them what it was.
Oh, yeah, that's what Rewrit said.
Who was that?
The neighbor that we're.
Is my buddy Marilyn still down there? Not the one above.
She's on the good
Yeah,
side.
it's right there.
This
It's rolling.
afternoon? Just now.
It's right here. It's on the film.